was the O Block reaction to that song? What was, you living in O Block, what was the initial reaction like?
Like, the initial reaction was, he finna die.
We heard them, on JoJo Boy, we heard them fucking rap niggas put money on bro head too.
Who do you think is responsible for your son's death?
Chief Keef.
Himself pulled the trigger?
I don't believe himself pulled the trigger. I believe he paid somebody to do it.
God, forgive me for the evil that I don't dwell that on no more. I'm a new me now, but we was happy as hell. It was a party that day. It was a whole party, bro. Like, it was crazy, bro. Like, niggas was happy because everybody wanted Lil JoJo to die, man, and it was just f***ed up how we was rooting for somebody to die, man.
On August 12th, 2012, Joseph Coleman, better known as Lil JoJo, narrowly escaped a life-threatening situation when his rivals attempted a hit on him. He even went on Twitter to boast about it, tweeting, "Guy shot at me and missed." Now, you'd think after something like that, JoJo might have taken it as a warning sign to lay low. But being the stubborn person he was, he kept pushing. Less than a month later, around August 31st, 2012, JoJo would make a critical mistake that not only led to his death, but also sparked one of Chicago's deadliest gang wars, costing lives not just from his crew, but his entire neighborhood. So let's break it down.
Hip-hop community has escalated. The victim, 18-year-old Joseph Coleman, known as Lil JoJo, he was shot by a drive-by shooter while riding his bike, rather.
Lil JoJo was from Englewood, a notoriously rough part of Chicago's South Side. He had a brother, Swag Dinero, also a rapper, and the two were close, even though they had different mothers.
And your brother is Lil JoJo?
Mm-hmm.
Older or younger brother?
That's my younger brother.
Okay. How much older are you then?
I'm born in January, born in April, so like 3 months.
3 months? Oh, so different parents?
Different
Fathers?
mothers.
Different mothers?
Yeah.
JoJo's life was tough from the start. His dad got locked up for attempted murder when JoJo was just a baby, serving 13 years behind bars.
So you guys share a father. And how old were you when your dad got locked up?
Like 8 months.
Oh, you were a baby.
Growing up in the streets, JoJo was part of the Brick Squad set of the Gangster Disciples, GD, who had an intense rivalry with the Black Disciples, BD, especially with the Lamron set. Brick Squad also had ties with STL EBT, another GD-affiliated group, which put them in a direct conflict with O Block and 600, both major BD sets. But the real beef was between Brick Squad and Lamron, mainly because they were closer in proximity, meaning there were more opportunities for tension to escalate. Now, when JoJo's story first hit the news, the media painted him as just another innocent kid caught up in a deadly gang war. But according to those who knew him, JoJo wasn't just some bystander. He was deep in that life, and his name still holds respect on the streets. Even though he wasn't really connected to the BDs from O Block, JoJo did grow up around Lil Reese and Lil Durk. There wasn't any beef between them initially. They weren't friends, but they also weren't enemies. They were just from different sets and things were neutral at first. But rumors say the beef really ignited after a fight at a basketball court between dudes from Lamron and Brick Squad. After that, things started heating up with both sides taking shots at each other on social media. Around this time, Chicago drill music was starting to blow up, with Chief Keef and Lil Durk leading the charge. Then on March 28, 2012, Durk dropped a track that would change everything. L's Anthem. In the song, Durk dissed Brick Squad, rapping, "Brick Squad, I say F 'em, Wugga World with 'em, so it's F 'em." Wugga World was another set of GDs affiliated with Brick Squad, so they got pulled into the beef as well.
Brick Squad, I say F 'em, Wugga World with 'em, so
L's Anthem quickly became one of the most infamous Chicago diss tracks, and when JoJo and his brother Swag Dinero heard it on the radio, it was game over. JoJo was furious. His set had just been disrespected on a massive platform. He turned to his brother and said, "You heard that, bro? Hell nah. We gonna go crazy, that's it."
He didn't really want to rap until he heard Lil Durk's song, that L's Anthem. Cause we heard it on the radio, like we driving, you know? It was me and him, I remember we driving, boom. He said, Brick Squad, we say f*** 'em. Like, this on the radio. Goes on the radio. Man, he went crazy. He ain't like that. He said, you heard that, bro? Hell no, we finna go crazy. That's it. After that, he was going crazy, bro.
JoJo wasn't even really rapping like that at the time, but the diss track motivated him to jump into the booth to respond. That decision would set off a chain of events that no one could have predicted. On April 27, 2012, Lil JoJo dropped a remix of Chief Keef's Every Day and called it BDK 300K. For context, 300 is a collective of various BD sets in Chicago, including heavyweights like Chief Keef, Lil Reese, and Lil Durk. But JoJo didn't just take aim at those rappers. He dissed the entire Black Disciple gang by naming the song BDK, which stands for Black Disciple Killer. In the track, JoJo boldly rapped, "These rappers claim 300, but we BDK," letting the whole city know where he stood.
These niggas claim 300, but we BDK.
On the track, he also responded directly to Durk, rapping, "Durk say F Brick Squad, so I can't wait to catch him. Squeeze this effing 40, now they got him on a stretcher."
Durk say Brick Squad, so I can't wait to catch him. Squeeze this 40.
This wasn't just another diss track, it became an anthem for GD rappers in Chicago who were beefing with the BDs, sparking an uptick in violence across the city. Lil JoJo's diss lit a fuse that would lead to one of the bloodiest chapters in Chicago's gang history. The song BDK not only disrespected JoJo's rivals, but enraged their entire neighborhood. By targeting Chief Keef, Lil Durk, Lil Reese, and the entire BD gang, JoJo basically put a target on his own back.
What was the O Block reaction to that song? What was, you living in O Block, what was the initial reaction like?
Like, the initial reaction was, he finna die. He came out with that song, man, but I said, that goes his death ticket. That's what I thought. And rest in peace to Lil JoJo. I wish that all of us would have had an opportunity to live a different life, but in my mind back then, I'm like, oh, sure, he gonna die. He assure you he got death coming. Making a song like that?
With tensions already high between rival gangs, this diss track pushed things to the brink. Less than a day after dropping his 300K diss on September 1st, JoJo continued his rampage by releasing other diss tracks like I Got Dat Sack Freestyle, throwing more shots at his rivals. He wasn't backing down. In fact, the success of the song only fueled his ego. JoJo was getting more attention, and with that, he pushed harder, continuing to poke at the BDs. He even took the beef to social media, tweeting things like 5,000 effing views in one day, tonight gon' make 2 days, but F Lil Durk, I'm not even going to diss him no more. He don't want no smoke, and Lil Durk say stop writing, shorty you giving him shine. LMAO, fam, you started this ish when you said F Brick Squad, but we're ready for whatever. These taunts sparked a back and forth with Lil Durk, Lil Reese, and others, and soon death threats started flying in JoJo's direction. Some OGs in the Chicago gang scene saw where this was heading and tried to intervene. Members from the 10 Trey block sent JoJo messages urging him to chill out before things got too far. These guys had already lost loved ones to the streets and violence, and they didn't want JoJo to follow the same path.
At the end of the day, Joe, I understand, Joe. Down behind this shit, you feel me? Joe, don't be the one, Joe. Try to take y'all to school, Joe. Be something about property, Joe. Real talk, Joe.
They warned him that this kind of beef only ends one way, but JoJo wasn't hearing it. Blinded by the gang life, the clout, and the attention, he didn't take their words seriously. Lil JoJo's decision to keep pressing his rivals turned out to be a fatal mistake. Not long after the diss tracks, JoJo allegedly spotted Lil Reese in traffic. Feeling like he had the upper hand, JoJo and his crew tailed Reese's car, shouting threats like, "Reese ain't even driving, he a B, I'ma kill his."
Hey, hurry up, he turning. They turning. Catch that light. Ah! Reese ain't even driving. He a b****. I'ma kill his ass.
JoJo even tweeted about the incident, laughing it off and taunting Reese for not taking any action. But while JoJo was busy bragging online, he missed the fact that he had left his enemies with even more hate in their hearts. This wasn't just another diss. This was personal now, and JoJo's rivals were out for blood. Despite the warnings and escalating threats, JoJo kept pushing. He continued to taunt his enemies by driving through their hood and posting a picture online to prove it. This was his way of showing that he wasn't scared, but in reality, he was only feeding the fire. Time was running out for JoJo, and karma was about to catch up with him. On September 4th, 2012, JoJo made a move that sealed his fate. At around 4:04 p.m., he and his crew rolled through his rival's turf again, with Lil Reese reportedly in the area. JoJo mocked them, doing everything he could to get under their skin. His taunts worked. Lil Reese allegedly told him, "I'm kill you," making it clear that this wasn't just talk anymore.
Yeah! What is wrong with you, boy? Hey, I am Brick Squad! Yeah, Brick Squad, boy. What you talking about, boy? Over your own bitch!
Instead of backing off, JoJo doubled down. He called Reese out online again, posting, "I am here on my 2 feet, where you at?" JoJo felt untouchable, but this time his bravado would cost him. Around 6:13 p.m., JoJo took things a step further, posting his exact location on Twitter. "I'm on 069, I'm out here." This was a bold and reckless move, an open invitation for his rivals to come find him. It didn't take long for them to respond. Around 7:30 p.m., JoJo was sitting on the handlebars of a bike being ridden by one of his affiliates near 70th Street and Princeton Avenue. According to police reports, a four-door sedan pulled up behind them, followed by two other vehicles. Someone in the front seat of the sedan opened fire, hitting JoJo at the corner of 70th and Princeton. JoJo tried to run, but he collapsed on the sidewalk at 6954 South Princeton. He was rushed to Comer Children's Hospital, but it was too late. Lil JoJo was pronounced dead at 9:03 p.m. on September 4th, 2012. Surveillance footage from the area near Lil JoJo's murder would later back up much of the breakdown outlined in the police report. In the footage, JoJo can be seen riding on the handlebars of a bike being pedaled by an unknown affiliate. They turn the corners and head down the road with three cars speeding behind them. As JoJo turns around to see what's happening, it's clear they're trying to get away. Not long after, the person riding the bike is seen running in the opposite direction, presumably after JoJo is shot. The footage then shows police vehicles arriving at the scene after the shooting. According to the police report, 6 9mm shell casings were found at the crime scene. This lined up with eyewitness reports where people said they heard 6 gunshots. Tragically, one bullet hit JoJo in the back and went straight through his heart. The news quickly picked up the story, with many outlets linking JoJo's murder to his ongoing beef with BD affiliates Chief Keef, Lil Durk, and Lil Reese. Lil JoJo's brother Swag Dinero later recounted the last time he saw his brother alive. He revealed that just an hour before the shooting, they had been together. After dropping JoJo off, the two went their separate ways, not knowing it would be the last time they saw each other.
Yeah, I was with him that day.
You were with him?
I dropped him off, like.
Okay.
Like, that died, like, probably like less than an hour from when I dropped him off.
In the aftermath of JoJo's death, his rivals wasted no time mocking his passing.
Nah, JoJo, we don't know how JoJo they stretch gang out. We out here on the block. I'm making this like fuck JoJo.
But Chief Keef's reaction stood out the most. His tweets immediately followed JoJo's murder and raised a lot of suspicion. Keef tweeted out a series of messages that many felt were in poor taste as he laughed hysterically about JoJo's death. He later claimed his account had been hacked and that he didn't even know who Lil JoJo was, but the damage had already been done. A lot of people were already pointing fingers at him, speculating that Keef had a hand in orchestrating the murder. Lil JoJo's family, especially his mother and brother, were convinced that Chief Keef was behind the hit. In a televised interview, JoJo's mom outright accused Keef of hiring people from his gang to take her son's life.
Who do you think is responsible for your son's death?
Chief Keef.
Himself pulled the trigger?
I don't believe himself pulled the trigger. I believe he paid somebody to do it.
Swag Dinero also echoed these claims. His mother's accusations were soon backed up by one of JoJo's affiliates, who stated in an interview, "We heard them rap dudes put money on bro's head."
We heard them, on JoJo boy, we heard them rap put money on bro's head too.
This only fueled more speculation that Keef had greenlit the hit. Chief Keef's cousin, Tato, would also post online, naming D. Rose, Fredo Santana, and Kiki, Keef's affiliates, as the people who allegedly carried out the murder. These posts only added more weight to the rumors surrounding Keef's involvement. The speculation didn't stop there. Swag Dinero also commented online about the shooter, further hinting that retaliation had already taken place. He made a cryptic statement that the person responsible for JoJo's death had already been killed. In an interview, Swag seemed to confirm this, stating that after leaving the hospital where JoJo had died, he and his uncle did what they did that night. Many took this to mean that Swag and his family had gotten revenge on JoJo's killer.
I said, take me to him, and he said he's gone already. There's nothing else to talk about. I left out here, I was crying like a motherfucker. But I wasn't like sad, I was mad crying. You know, I looked at Unc, man, and we left. We hopped and we went and we did what we did that night.
The rumors of retaliation weren't just street talk, though. Police reports confirmed that just 2 weeks after Lil JoJo was murdered, on September 17, 2012, Chief Keef's affiliate Keith Bonds, also known as Kiki, was gunned down. Authorities believe that Kiki's murder was directly related to Lil JoJo's death, a grim retaliation for what had happened. It's really tragic how everything played out in Lil JoJo's life, highlighting just how destructive and short-lived the street life can be. Lil JoJo, whose real name was Joseph Coleman, was born on April 6, 1994 on the south side of Chicago. He grew up in the South Darren area, specifically in Trammell Park. JoJo had a brother named Swag Dinero, who was only 3 months older than him. They shared the same father but had different mothers, living in separate households. But since their homes were so close to each other, the brothers were practically inseparable, constantly spending time together. They'd even sneak out at night just to hang out, trying to stay connected despite their family situation.
And your brother is Lil JoJo?
Mm-hmm.
Older or younger brother?
That's my younger brother.
Okay. How much older are you then?
I'm born in January, born in April, so like 3 months.
3 months? Oh, so different parents?
Different
Fathers?
mothers.
Different mothers?
Yeah, you know, we was sneaking out and getting to each other until we got old enough to stop sneaking or whatever.
Unfortunately, life took a tough turn early on for the brothers. Their father, John Coleman, was sentenced to 13 years in prison for attempted murder when Lil JoJo was just 5 months old.
How old were you when your dad got locked up?
Like 8 months.
Oh, you were a baby?
Yeah, he got out on my 14th birthday, at my birthday party. He walked in the birthday party, you know, like that was crazy.
This left their mothers to raise them on their own, doing the best they could to keep things together. At some point, Swag and his mom moved up north to the suburbs, and Lil JoJo followed along for a couple of years. Swag felt that JoJo was starting to drift in the wrong direction, so he wanted to get him away from the negative influences back in their old neighborhood. In an interview with DJ Vlad, Swag shared that he finally got to see his dad again after those 13 years when he turned 14. Sadly, their reunion didn't last long. The following year, John Coleman got locked up again, this time for drugs, and was sentenced to 22 more years. As of today, their father is still serving time in federal prison.
This dude pulling up in a Charger, we looking up to this fool. This fool get locked up when we 15. He just got a 22-year sentence. So he in the Fed right now.
So after 1 year being out, he gets an even bigger sentence.
Lil JoJo and Swag also had a sister named Nikayla, who was born in May of the same year as them. The family ties ran deep in gang culture, with most of their relatives being involved in gangs. Their dad, cousins, and even uncles were all part of the gangster disciples, which heavily influenced JoJo and Swag's lives. Their mothers were pretty much the only ones in the family who stayed out of that world, and they worked hard to keep the boys away from it too. But despite their efforts, the pull of the streets was strong. Swag recalled how his mother once found old Polaroids of him and JoJo flashing gang signs, and she gave them a beating for it, trying desperately to steer them in the right direction. But growing up without a father figure meant Swag and JoJo had to figure out how to navigate life on their own. They had to learn what it meant to be men without any real guidance. By the time they were 12 or 13, they were forced to mature fast and make decisions that most kids their age would never have to face. Without their father around to guide them, they ended up making mistakes, the kind that might have been avoided if they had someone to show them the right path. It's tough to expect young kids in that kind of environment to know how to handle everything on their own. They were surrounded by crime and gang activity, and nearly everyone in their family was involved in the streets. Their friends were going through the same struggles, and older gang members were constantly pushing the younger ones to commit crimes, feeding into a cycle of violence and bad decisions. It's a lot to ask of any child, especially when their entire environment is shaped by that kind of lifestyle. As many of you already know, Lil JoJo was a rapper just like his brother Swag Dinero. In fact, Swag was actually the first one to get into music, dropping tracks as early as his freshman year of high school. A producer named Smiles from Brick Squad, who many are probably familiar with, saw Swag's talent early on and brought him into the studio. At the time, Lil JoJo wasn't really into rapping. He had no desire to follow in his brother's footsteps, and it wasn't something he saw himself doing. But everything changed when Lil Durk dropped L's Anthem. That track set off a spark in Lil JoJo, motivating him to take rap seriously, and by doing so, he created the BDK movement that became notorious across Chicago's South Side. A lot of people might not fully understand just how influential Lil JoJo was, especially among the gangster disciples, GD, on the South Side. To many, JoJo became a legend. Some people even say he's up there with GD icons like Larry Hoover. Not necessarily because of how much work he put in or the money he made, but because he built a movement that still resonates with a lot of people to this day. For some, Lil JoJo was a modern-day symbol of resistance. He brought different GD sets together under the BDK banner and paved the way for a new wave of rappers who carried on his legacy long after he was gone. But as powerful as his impact was, it's heartbreaking to think about what Lil JoJo's life could have been if things had gone differently. He had the potential to be something much bigger, but like so many others, he got caught up in the cycle of gang violence. Even those who had been in the streets long enough to know the harsh realities of that life tried to warn him, but he was already in too deep. After his death, his affiliates were left to pick up the pieces, and unfortunately, many of them were more focused on seeking revenge than trying to stop the violence. In their grief, they targeted anyone they believed was responsible, even going as far as threatening the mothers of their rivals. While Lil JoJo's side mourned and plotted retaliation, his enemies were celebrating his death. It's crazy to think that Lil JoJo, someone who grew up in the same streets and faced the same struggles as his rivals, was just another casualty in a senseless war that brought nothing but pain and loss to both sides. Instead of coming together, these young men ended up fighting a battle that only added more bodies to an already devastating toll.
God, forgive me for the evil that I don't dwell that on no more. I'm a new me now, but we was happy as hell. It was a party that day. It was a whole party, bro. Like, it was crazy, bro. Like, happy cause everybody wanted Lil JoJo to die, man, and it was just up how we was rooting for somebody to die, man.
What's even sadder is that the cycle of violence didn't stop after Lil JoJo's death. His affiliates kept pushing the BDK movement, the same movement that had helped propel JoJo into the spotlight, but ultimately cost him his life.
I squash, so the movement's still living on, man.
Hey, and I want to let y'all know, man, can't no motherfucker stop this BDK movement, man. But JoJo or us.
The streets continue to bleed, and lives are still being lost in the same destructive patterns. Lil JoJo could have been something more, but his life was cut short, leaving behind a legacy that's both admired and mourned. Rest in peace, Lil JoJo.